Hi, this is your 2019 yearly horoscopes with me, Lada, from Astrolada.com. Thank you for choosing me to be your guide for the year 2019. I feel very flattered. And I just want, before we start, and this is the intro for all 12 signs, but it's important for you to watch it. And before I start for each sign, I want to invite you to join me in a little prayer, no matter who you believe in and what you believe in, just to focus our energy and to benefit the most through this reading. Dear Mother, Father, Universe, God, exalted angels, guardians of every human, those that are helping the evolution of humanity and of every individual person. Please bless everyone who watches those videos and the whole world in 2019. Let those videos and the information that is given here be useful to everyone, so everyone can use it to the most constructive possible ways, to the highest vibration of the planets. And even if there are challenging periods and moments in our life in 2019, let this video and this information give us not only clarity but a meaning and understanding of those more painful experiences that are in front of us, so we realize that life is not an adversary to battle with and conquer, that life is our benevolent good partner that is trying to lead us to discover our true authenticity. It is trying to lead us to a place of happiness, to a place of truthfulness. So let this year 2019 and the information we receive here, let us use it to the highest good for everyone involved, and let us be able to utilize the planetary energies to help ourselves, to uplift ourselves and those around us. Amen. So I want for you to benefit the most. Thank you so much for joining me, by the way, in the prayer. So for you to benefit the most from this, I want you to take a pen and paper and write down 3 things. And some of you would be just listening your sun sign. Others would be just listening to your moon sign. Others bought all the 12 videos, so you'll be able to be watching your ascendant, sun, and moon. But I always advise you, watch your ascendant sign, because if you go to a professional astrologer, they'll look at your ascendant and how the planets are in correspondence, where they're moving from that ascendant. And nowadays, more and more astrologers are using the ancient time of astrology, which is whole sign house system. So these videos are perfect. The whole sign house system is what when first astrologers created it, the system they were using it. So without the house cusps and anything. So the ascendant is the point of incarnation of the physical body. So it is of the soul into the physical body. It is the physical bodies. That's why it shows the most tangible things that are happening to us. That's why I always advise, check the prognosis for your ascendant sign. The moon sign is our inner world, how we feel, our self-consciousness. So the moon usually manifests the second most powerful after the ascendant sign, because we especially strongly identify with how we feel about something, and something that impacts us emotionally. And even though, for example, from the ascendant, some big event might be happening, like changing of place of living, but from the moon, it's shown that, for example, you will be having a quarrel with a friend. For you, this will be a way bigger deal, because emotionally this feels much stronger for you, this quarrel with a friend, for example, than the relocation that's happening. But from the ascendant, it shows the specific things that are happening in your life in a tangible way, because the ascendant is the material body and what is happening to us on our path in that material body. And the sun sign is what most of the people only check, and but that's pop astrology. But still, the sun sign is very important. The sun sign is our willpower, our goals. It's our ability to channel divine intelligence. And the sun sign will show us, looking at the prognosis from the sun sign, will show us especially the things that we are striving towards to achieve consciously. And the prognosis for the sun sign, we tend to have more free will over that prediction, what you're going to read, because the sun is connected to free will, while the moon symbolizes the past. These are things that often happen. The prediction from the moon are encoded from the past, while from the ascendant sign, it's sealed in stone, so to speak, So yes, checking the sun sign is very important, especially because you can direct the events there more with your free will. The moon sign, you feel like it's more fated and it affects your feelings the most and your personal life. And the ascendant sign is the most tangible event. So I would advise start with the ascendant sign and progress. And for you to know, though, a lot of people don't know, the sun sign is the one that everyone speaks about. You know, like, oh, what are you? I'm an Aries. It means I'm born from March the 20th to April 20th, something like that. But and I can give you predictions for, oh, if you're born from March 1st to March 5th, this and this will be happening for you. But every year they change, the sun moves into a different sign a day before or after, and I want to be way more precise for you. So instead of giving you days, we're gonna find the degrees of your sun, the degrees of your moon, and the degrees of your ascendant signs. And for some of you, the moon and the ascendant might be the same, or the sun and the moon. Rarely, but it happens. So for you to find this out, I want you to, and I'm going to share my screen with you. Let me just. Here it is. Share. So I hope you see it. Go to my birth website, astrolada.com. You see it here. And go to the birth chart and transits. Or if you have any other astrology calculator, I don't mind as long as it gives you the information that I'm going to show. So here I'm going to put a fictitious person, let's say whatever name. Write your name. So you're born in August the 6th, 1972, for example, at 8 a.m. or make sure that if you're born later, you check if it's 8 p.m., 20, And it's important for your correct ascendant and for the degree, in particular for the ascendant and the direct degree of the moon, the correct sign and degree of the moon, for you to know your minute of birth. If you don't know it within 15, 20 minutes, the degree of the ascendant might be 3 or 4 degrees off, but the moon degree would usually be correct. But say you're born 8/17, and say you're born in the USA, and you're born in New York, and you have the drop-down menu. Which New York are you born in? Well, there are many New Yorks, say New York Hospital, whatever. And continue, press continue. And then you're gonna get this chart, and I want you to scroll down, you see, not here, but here inside. And you're gonna see this, which shows planetary details. And I want you to, there is abbreviation of ascendant, sun, and moon. This is the only work you have to do. After that, just listen and enjoy and wait to hear your degrees. I'll be speaking generally about each sign, but especially when I mention the degree of the sign that you have. This is when things are going to, you're going to feel them so intensely. So this person, for example, has ascendant, which means your rising sign is the same. Ascendant, rising means the same. The physical body, it is at 20 degrees Aquarius. I want you to write just the first degree. The second one is not so important. This is 28 minutes. This is very minimal. So 20 degrees, write down on a piece of paper, Aquarius 20 degrees. You have to watch the video for Aquarius. And every time I mention Aquarians born, say, from 17 to 21 degrees and you're 20, they'll experience this in particular this year. And you should be like, okay, this is very specific for you. It's gonna manifest. You're gonna feel it. Then write down your sun sign. This person, for example, has sun at 14 degrees Leo. And the moon sign. The moon sign for this person is at 16 degrees Cancer. So if you've bought, for example, if your sun is in Leo, make sure that you know the degree for your sun. So in this case, this is the sign. The sun is the sign everyone knows. I'm a Leo, I'm a Virgo, So, but make sure you check the degree of your sun. Check the degree of your sun. Check the degree of your ascendant or moon, whichever one you're waiting. And then, so for example, if you have the all 15 videos, this person has to check the video for Aquarius, Leo, and Cancer. So I hope it's not too complicated. It's actually quite simple. You can watch the video a few times to understand what it means. But now know the degree. Write it down, have it on a piece of paper, and whatever you're listening to, if it's your moon sign that you're listening, knowing the degree, when you hear your moon degree, you're like, ting, that's specific for me. For the ascendant sign, overall, the whole prediction is very correct. While for the sun and moon sign, again, you would feel it maybe to a lesser degree, but especially when I mention your sun or moon degree, this is going to, it's happening. Whatever I talk about, it's happening. You feel it strongly. It's going to be so important for you that year. So, with that introduction, thank you so much. And we're going to start with the signs one by one. Taurus 2019, whether it's your sun, moon, or ascendant in Taurus. And of course, as I said, the ascendant is very important. Listen to it first. And the sun and moon, especially when you hear when I mention the degree of your sun or moon, this will be very relevant, and it's really happening. It's really on. So Taurus, let's start with Jupiter, where it's moving, because Jupiter changes its signs once a year, so every year it's in a different area of your life, blessing with help and abundance. And this time Jupiter is extremely strong. It's in its own sign, so it manifests. When a planet is passing through its own sign, it manifests in that area of your life in an easy way, because Jupiter gives easy, it gives with blessings, or it helps you fix some problem or heal something in regards to that area of your life. So the eighth house, though, is the house of big changes in life, like identity transformations, sudden crisis, sudden disruption. And Jupiter will bring more of those. So you're like, how is Jupiter going to help me then if it's going to bring more of big changes and crisis? But those changes and crises are for your benefit. And you say, yes, wars can be for benefit as well, but it's not right, It's no, you're gonna feel exhilarated and released and happy from that sudden change. From that, it might be preceded by some crisis, because this is the nature of the eighth house, and Jupiter expands that. It makes it manifest. So something suddenly happens in your life. Something out of the blue, something that is surprising, and it's not going to be one such event. There will be a few over 2019 till November. That will turn your life around, but in a kind of miraculous way, because Jupiter is God's blessing for us. It's God's grace, whatever it passes. Especially in Sagittarius, it's double whammy like that. So because it's your second house, you can suddenly, it's the house of, when Jupiter transits there, it turns into the house of miracles. So sudden, for example, sudden spontaneous healings can happen. The eighth house is deep transformation, not like just some medicaments you take and that kind of patches up some, health condition for you. No, it's you change on a such dramatic level within you that you kind of uproot the cause of some long-standing disease in your life, or a situation that is unhappy or traumatic, or that you're locked in some kind of pain and suffering. Something changes on a very fundamental level at you through some sudden event. It's like all of a sudden you're awake and you're like, oh my God, I was asleep till now. I realized why I've been suffering with stomach issues, or why I've been having this trauma or this depression, or why I've been locked in this state of unhappiness such a long time. But something new appears. Jupiter in the 8th house, something new that's benevolent, that turns you around. It's something or someone that turns you around suddenly. It's like a miraculous turnaround from a long-lasting, painful situation, health problem as well. When Jupiter transits the 8th house, you can even recover from, especially when Jupiter is so strong, from some kind of a life-threatening disease, or disease you've had forever. That since you remember. And because, as I said, Jupiter gives you very deep, 8th house is deep inside understanding the roots of something, and Jupiter is clarity and understanding. And when you realize what it is, it might be stemming from a past lifetime, that the memory submerges from a past lifetime, why you are paranoid about something, or why you keep having problems in relationships, or why you keep sabotaging yourself in a certain way, or why you keep not having money or something, or it might be a person that triggers it. It might be some belief system. Jupiter is connected to learning something, to some higher knowledge. It might be connected to even 8th house rules, astrology, or kind of other occult insights and information, mystical and mysterious information, or just agents of sudden change in our life, agents provocateur that press a button, and it's like eighth house rule psychologists and therapists that help us again realize patterns that we've been stuck in a long time, and once we realize them, we release them. It's the same like when people have, for example, someone who has breathing problem, and people can figure out why, or claustrophobia, and they all of a sudden have a past life regression. They see that they were buried alive, and once they realize that, the claustrophobia goes away, the breathing problem goes away. The same with someone who keeps attracting abusive relationships or partners that cheat on them, and they see something in a past lifetime, or they regressed, or they have counseling with someone. Eighth house people are like psychics, astrologers, psychologists. They're very penetrating. They get to the bottom. You clarify it. It's no longer subconscious. You clear it up. You release it, and it's like everyone says, miraculous healing, just like a lot of cancers and such a lot of problems, health problems, on some deep emotional level that we've locked, and we can overcome it. So Jupiter is going to be making such miracles, either through counselor, either through an astrologer, either through astrology that you read, or either through sudden realization. I cannot tell you what the agent will be, because Jupiter is in Sagittarius. It will be some teacher figure or some belief system, or something that some kind of like an inspiration that comes to you, higher knowledge, or it can be some kind of a coaching figure as well, like a parental mentoring figure that does it. But it can also be a partner, that it's just someone that brings this to you, or just spontaneous remission of a long-standing health situation, or of a long-standing mental, psychological, emotional. So Jupiter transiting the eighth house is the house of, is when Jupiter allows, because it's an allowing moment, big realizations and big miracles to happen, big turnarounds in life. And they might feel like a crisis initially. It might feel like your whole world is turned upside down, whether it's through some information or knowledge, or whether it's through some specific event, because eighth house rules events like divorce, like secret relationships. Jupiter can bring opportunity to start a private relationship of some sort. I've seen so many people come to me and say, Jupiter transited my seventh house. I didn't meet anyone, so big deal. And then Jupiter goes into the eighth house, which is house of deep intimacy and transformations and secret relationships, and they start something suddenly, and usually there's some kind of a more private thing about it, and it's usually very sexual relationship as well, and this thing turns their life around, this relationship. But usually, I'm not saying you're going to have an affair, with someone who is married. Jupiter is not about that, but it can start. It's relationships that come to your life will be transformational. They can break you out from some pattern. They can heal you suddenly from some long-lasting depression or sadness or being stuck in a certain situation. So time for miracles, guys. But again, for example, I met my husband when Jupiter was transiting my eighth house cast, and it happened privately because I was in the middle of divorce. I was not allowed, for 5 or 6 months, I would not say anything, but it turned my life around. And I can give you a little secret. Jupiter in the eighth house, it can be sexual healing as well, through deep intimacy. If there was blockage in your sexual intimacy, an ability to open up to another and let them in, Jupiter transiting the eighth house will dissolve those boundaries, and it will open up your heart to start trusting more. If you've been hurt, and that's why it's like a healing, because you might have been hurt in a past lifetime or even in your childhood, and you've closed your heart and you don't trust people. I know a lot of Taurus, especially when they have something difficult in the eighth house, like Saturn there, they don't open up to love. And Jupiter transits there and heals it, spontaneous realization, remission of that state. So you kind of start feeling like it might almost feel like a mystical experience. You might be, one morning, just like for me I was so unhappy for 9 years. I meet my husband, over a week my life changes. And over a week, all the sadness suddenly disappears. And I'm not saying that your happiness is bound with another when Jupiter transits the eighth house, and it's going to happen like someone will do it for you. It might be an internal process. It might be through searching for you going to a past life regression. So it might be a person indeed. For me, it was a person. And especially for women, it might be a person, because Jupiter is considered one of the planets that is connected to the male person in life, to the guru, teacher, or husband figure as well. So overnight, your life can turn around, and first you might be in shock, but it's gonna be freeing, liberating. It's gonna be soul healing. So it's very good time to undertake some kind of past life regression, some kind of occult investigation, some kind of self-analysis, some kind of counseling with someone. It's going to be so beneficial. It's going to open windows for you. Windows liberating. Eighth house is a moksha house. And Jupiter from there is making aspects, full aspects to a 12th house and to a 4th house, the other moksha, liberating houses, which means that you'll be freed from something. You'll be freed from some attachment through knowledge, because Jupiter in Sagittarius is by realizing something, by eureka moment, by higher knowledge and understanding and inspiration. So you'll be released from some self-imposed prison, some or prison imposed on you by experiences you've had in your past, because the 12th house, the 4th house, they're all connected to the past and to the past lifetimes or early childhood, 4th house, 12th house is past lifetimes. So there is release of congealed energy and melting away of that, because Jupiter is a planet of spring. It has the energy, it's warm and moist. It has the energy of spring, and it melts away this 12th house, this 4th house, so this 8th house. And it can happen in a miraculous way. It's not like you're doing it consciously, You have a sudden realization, it resolves some pain, it releases it. So, and people who are, for example, themselves an astrologer, an occultist, someone who is working with tarot, someone who is a psychologist, someone who is a counselor, who is trying to help people overcome big crises in their life. It might be death counselor or bereavement counselor. It might be someone who is helping a person overcome loss of someone, or a divorce counselors, or anyone who is counseling people that are going through big transformations in their life. They can have a boom in their career. They can have deep understanding, much more higher, deeper knowledge that they develop now, big insights that are going to help them for the next 12 years after that to grow up their vocation, their career. But their career starts growing. Psychologists, analysts, people that are helping to transform others. Also, it might be other people, like someone who transforms the appearance of people, or someone who transforms the identity of others. Like someone who is a counselor for transgender people who are trying to move from one gender to another, to understand their sexuality. People that work in the sex industry can have success, because also the 8th house is money that comes to us from others. But people who are working in the, sexual counseling as well, people who are working in anything to do with the intimate side of relationship, with counseling, with the, I said all those, the occult. People who are working in emergencies, if you're an emergency nurse, or someone who is like a firefighter that have to respond to emergency. So if you're an emergency manager, crisis manager of some sort, 8th house is those sudden, unexpected changes that happen. So someone who is, if you're already in a career that is dealing with such sudden situations, crisis managements and stuff like that, catastrophes, shocks, or other people's resources. 8th house rules money that are others, like people, where people pooled money resources, say like hedge funds, investments bank, where you invest, or some investment projects that a few people gather together and put their money together. All these things start growing, double almost, or triple, because Jupiter is so manifesting in its own sign. So by the end of 2019, if you're in any of those fields, that I mentioned, you'd come out and you'd see that your business and your opportunities have grown, and your understanding, because Jupiter in Sagittarius is about knowledge and understanding and learning so much. And also, your partner's money is the 8th house. So all of a sudden, your partner can get a promotion and start making a lot more money, from which you benefit as well. So your marriage partner, your wife, your husband, or you can receive hidden money from somewhere. Eighth house is benefiting by some undeclared resource. I'm not saying you'll be cheating taxes or whatever, but it's not like that's the salary you get from your job. But if you are working together with a partner, you can benefit a lot, maybe double or triple increase your finances over the next 1 year through combining your resources with another person, investing in someone with many people or a few people or at least one other person. This is good. You have the green light. Invest with other people and stuff like that. Just be careful because Jupiter is making a square to Neptune 3 times in 2019. Neptune is in your 11th house of friends, so and your goals and your socioeconomic goals. So there might be some mismatch between your expectations financially of the goals and about the vision that you have about that and the financial side of it. And I'm not saying you'll be lied to in some way by others, but you just have to be careful for the details because of the square aspect. But generally, Jupiter will manifest and give in this 8th house. There might be some losses because of this Neptune squaring Jupiter, which means like over exaggerated expectations or a bit unrealistic expectations, but you can benefit through other people's resources, to business partners and their resources, through your uh, husband, wife, resources, through your client's money that you're expecting from someone else or that you want to receive from someone else will start pouring in. For example, you can get a stipend from someone, or you can get some benefactor that helps you. You can get like a sugar daddy, or you can get some hidden source of just like hidden relationships are possible as well, more private ones, also hidden source of income. Or you can benefit by some tax thing. You can, for example, move your money or move to something, and all of a sudden you're saving lots of taxes. You can change your company or do certain things, and you can benefit through taxes in some way. So if you want to do something with taxes now, you can, or you can, for example, do an offshore company, and this saves you lots of taxes. Or you can get a big tax return of some sort, especially if you're Taurus rising, because that's the most, that's the most manifesting materially. And or insurances, you can suddenly get a big payout from an insurance of some sort. Or the 8th house is also inheritance. Suddenly an inheritance can appear for you. It might be even a surprise, but again, it's something that turns your life around. It's something like someone dies, 8th house, death happens, and you benefit through that. Again, Jupiter in the 8th house can increase the instances of death around you. You're not dying, don't worry, but you might be like a pet or something that puts you in contact with the consciousness of the cycle of life, death and rebirth. And this can suck you into big research and being inspired to know and learn about the occult and the secrets of life after death. And even if no death happens in your life, like when Jupiter transit my 8th house, there was no death. There was a symbolic death of my previous life. That's what can happen, is like most often, 99%, what happens when Jupiter transits the 8th house is that there is a symbolic death of an old part of your life. It happens very fast. It happens like a spinning tornado, and it makes you a much better and happier person. So, but while you're in the grips of it, you're like, you're like shaking everywhere. But still, and again, when it happened through my sun sign, from my sun, I didn't feel it so much. There was such things. When it happened through the moon sign, I felt it more. Through the ascendant sign is when the most tangible such events happen. But something spins you, an old part of you dies, a new one is reborn, or literally something in your life can go disintegrate, but from it something new is reborn, and a new self-identity is coming. So you have the green light, and it will happen for many of you, to be a totally different person by the end of this year, and to be someone who is kind of who understands more the mysteries of life, to have sudden realizations about deep secrets and mysteries, to find out private or secret information, to investigate the occult, to investigate the mysterious. And what is allowed, and not only allowed but often granted, is mystical experiences. If you're on a path of spiritual searching, experiencing the divine behind the mundane, the material world. This is the 8th house plus Jupiter sends aspects to the 12th and the 4th house. So, which is again, those are hidden houses. The mysteries of the universe are hidden there. And it usually happens in more isolation, but mystical awakenings or mystical initiations and experiences are likely, and deep insights into occult and into kind of secret taboo topics. You can become very interested in knowledge about the secret workings of the world, of the secret governments, conspiracies, which are, most of them are not actually conspiracies. And these big healings and transformations that I said are likely with people that appear in your life that are agents of sudden transformations, life identity change of a big, self-identification changes. Anyway, enough of that. Saturn will be in your 9th house. And it's been already 1 year, so some of you have already felt that influence and what it means. And I forgot to say, Jupiter in your 8th house, expect your income to increase. But it's not going to happen only depending on you. It will happen in collaboration with others or through some institution or some kind of source, someone like pooled money or some investments that you've made. You can see like big increase in resources and finances. And again, when Jupiter goes retrograde, which is happening from April to August, it might feel like things are not happening. It might feel like these things we're talking about have slowed down, or they require much more effort and energy. You have to persevere through the Jupiter retrograde period, because it's the testing period when you have to integrate it deeper and put 3 times more work into this. Even though Jupiter gives easy, even during its retrograde period, you need to put more effort because things slow down. And then when it starts moving direct again from the 11th of August, you'll start seeing the results of this. And I can tell you that when Jupiter was transiting my 8th house, definitely resources increased a lot from the ascendant and from the sun as well, as far as I remember. There was it's kind of what like went really, really surprising for me. But it was not thanks to me, it was thanks to collaborating with people and thanks to partners. And you can receive money from a partner. For example, if you're in a court case and you're wondering whether you get paid out for some money, and Jupiter will be transiting your 8th house, you will receive money. You receive money from somewhere. Just telling you how it might play out. Or if you're getting a divorce, Jupiter can instigate in the 8th house such life crisis like a divorce, like potential sudden change in your life, but it kind of leads to something much better opportunity. So whatever thing surprises you and shocks you, don't be scared from it. This year, it's for the good. It's not going to put you into a spiral of depression, into some kind of a desolate state, or into some kind of, it's just going to be it's going to reborn you. It's going to give you rebirth, and it's going to give you like a newfound freedom and identity and authenticity and healing, like miraculous spontaneous remission of some state, whether it's a state of less money or poverty state, or state of unhappy marriage, or state of miserable disease of some sort. Okay, so then we go to Saturn transit in your 9th house. Well, Saturn in the 9th house, and it's going to be there with a south node as well. And let's see what it means. And Saturn is in its own sign. So it's again going to be manifesting influence, because the planet's in its own sign. It's going to manifest, but Saturn does it with a lot more effort, much slower. It's going to be more like a process where you have to put effort, when you have to have a more detached attitude, especially with the south node there, which we call Ketu. Because Ketu tells us, be an observer, detach yourself from the results of your efforts, because it's not going to be an easy process. It's going to be a bit of like having to work through a constipation or something. And Ketu is also like excreting. It's like Ketu is the tail of the dragon, from where we have to excrete something, to release something. And Saturn is something hardening. So it's kind of this Capricorn for everyone, whatever it is in their horoscope, is like where you're going to have a constipation, but you're going to excrete something through a bit more hard work, and you have to let go of that, otherwise it's poisoning you. and you're gonna feel like such a big relief. But while it's happening, it will feel like shit. Can I get an epidural? I don't want to scare you. Don't worry. And Ketu and Saturn together give a great sense of detachment and ability to be much more impartial, because one is about excreting, being an observer, being detached. The other one is about also coolness and distance, Saturn. So the ninth house is, first of all, our goals for the future and our vision of our life. How do we envision ourselves? What are we gonna do? How do we envision the purpose and meaning in our life? How do we vision the universe? What is the meaning of life? What is God? Who is God? Are we a random creation, or is the universe benevolent, kind mother, father that takes care personally of each one of us and is involved emotionally with us? Or is the universe just um, atoms that are random, and actually the perspective that you have, this ninth house is so important. In ancient Vedic astrology, if you have a ninth house strong, your whole life is fortunate, because depending on how you perceive the universe, this is what's going to manifest in your life. If you perceive the universe is benevolent and you're a loved child, personally loved by the creator, and everything falls in place, this is what's going to manifest. So if you have a strong ninth house, no matter what you do, it's not no matter, because your thinking, your perception is so much more positive, or no, close to the truth of the universe, because ninth house is about truth. But if you have a difficult ninth house, it's skewed. You kind of, it's further away from the truth. You imagine like a punishing God or a punishing universe, or eye for an eye, or it's not enough resources, and that definitely that leads all your behavior, all your morality, all your attitude to life. So strong ninth house, if you're going to be successful and wealthy, and if you're going to do it in the easy way, for things happening easy, you have to work on that ninth house. And this is what Saturn and Ketu are going to be doing in the hard way. And Saturn already started, and there is that 2019 is a very pivotal moment for that, and 2020 as well. But it's kind of like trying to streamline your belief systems, because Saturn is about cutting off the unnecessary, chopping off the freely willy, the unrealistic. So some of you actually, if you've had too unrealistic beliefs about about the vision of your future as well, because it's so interconnected. What you believe about the universe is what you believe is possible for you as well. If the universe is inhospitable, if you believe like only you have to be born in a certain family to be successful, if you believe, whatever your beliefs, that this is the ninth house, this is what you manifest. It doesn't have to be big beliefs about the creation, whether we were made from aliens. It can be beliefs about your life, vision about your life. I used to have an extremely restricted one. I have Saturn in the ninth house. I used to believe that unless you're rich when you're born, you can't make it into another state. It's only the elite, and it's not letting others. And of course, I had to learn the hard way. But basically, that is not so, and to upgrade that. But now Saturn in your ninth house is going to be doing this, is going to be cutting off the necessary belief systems, especially the more Pollyanna beliefs, because there is the other spectrum, a person, and everyone has some part of it. Someone can believe, oh, I can be a ballet dancer, this is my plan, but they don't have the physical structure or whatever. Or I can be a physician, or but they get very sick every time they're around people, or whatever your high vision for yourself. This is your ninth house, your vision for your future, your ideal for yourself, your ideal concept of yourself is. And Saturn will cut out those unrealistic things, and Saturn will cut out and your future plans as well. On the whole, they can be more, even if they're very practical, like you have a business and your goal is to, say, grow it like this and that. And you have certain vision of how the business is going to turn out. And you're already doing the business. Saturn transiting the ninth house is going to say certain things are not practical enough about your vision. Certain things are not realistic. They're not. Saturn wants you to comply to the physical laws and to the harsh reality, and to get practical and down to earth, basically, and to trim off the flying away with the fairies, basically, the unrealistic things that are not really going to happen. And Ketu will help you excrete those and detach and let them go. But it can feel a bit painful as well, because it is like you're saying goodbye to certain beliefs that you had, or certain concepts of plans for the future that you have. And you can feel like a crisis of faith. When Saturn transits the ninth house, sometimes we feel a crisis of faith. And it can be not only about yourself, about your belief system. You can have a crisis of faith in astrology. You can have a crisis of faith in your traditional Christian religion. You can have a crisis of faith in your Buddhism practices. And often, while Saturn transits the ninth house, a person goes back to starts researching more ancient or more traditional belief systems, ones that are tested through times, because Saturn means something old, something from the past. They also are drawn, you can be drawn to an older teacher, to someone, to traditional practices, spiritual religious practices and studies. You can be drawn to you can find an older teacher. Some are more strict teachers as well. You can also be drawn to exploring very much in depth. Saturn is very deep research of higher knowledge. This can, for those that are more inclined towards such higher truths, this crisis of faith will plunge you into very deep, meticulous research, which is what Saturn is, almost like retreating from the world, so you can study in depth either its ancient scriptures or ancient belief systems, or some kind of more traditional. For me, it was when Saturn transited the ninth house, got disappointed. I had a huge crisis of faith. I was crying for months in astrology, in modern astrology, and I started researching Vedic astrology, and I found traditional teacher who did it. And it can turn out fantastic as well, because Saturn is in its own sign, so it's going to give good results. So even if you have some crisis of faith, whether it's about your future, whether it's about your future, some future plan about yourself, how you envision it, and you have to abandon that one because it's unrealistic or it's not happening, or it's about the belief system, you will if you push through, because Saturn is about perseverance, you discover much more lasting, much more rooted in tradition and in proof and in practice belief systems. Might be a bit more austere belief systems with more strict rules, though. But you just need, right, when Saturn transits the ninth house, a person needs more clearer and defined belief system. Some kind of freely willy kind of oh, we're all energy, we're floating, think positive and everything will happen as well. It's not working for them. They want clear instructions. And they start researching, and they start looking for that, for this higher knowledge, or for this belief system, even if it's a bit more extreme, even if it's a bit more strict, for the time, for the moment, and it's more traditional. And it's probably exactly what you need. But also it means you're going to let go, because Ketu is the excrete, let go of something. And you might feel disappointed with some teacher or some professor as well. There can be some difficulties with professors and teachers and father figures. The father figure, which is the ninth house in your life, can be going through some difficulty, or some mentor. Or you might be going through they might feel like too resistant to change, or they might feel like stuck in some negative pattern or behavior with you as well. They become just somehow more difficult, or the relationships. But again, Ketu will help you be more detached and let go of that and excrete it, and maybe let go of this relationship with that mentor or this teacher or this professor because you're disappointed. And Saturn will manifest someone else with more effort still, but it's still manifesting influence. Plus, it can mean that you get disillusioned, or kind of, because Saturn shows dissatisfaction if you're not on the right dharmic path, because ninth house is dharma, what you're here to do, your purpose, your meaning, your kind of like calling as well, what's your true inspiration, and Saturn there can first make you feel pessimistic about that, like you're stuck, but eventually Saturn there can indicate that, say you're studying in university, and you might get disappointed with the degree you're studying because ninth house is higher education. This is another way it can manifest. You might have to let go of that and derail to a different one. And there might be resistance because Saturn resists, but it might be the time to do this, We might have to get detached towards, if you feel some kind of disappointment towards the academia world or some professor or some kind of how a field that you're studying of higher knowledge is becoming too indoctrinated or is becoming too stiff and too rigid. You might feel this and you might have to let go of this for a little bit, or develop. If you have to continue studying that or be in such academic environment, you have to develop detachment, and Ketu will help with that. Just do it, do the responsibilities and duties and studies, whatever, and accept that it is what it is and disconnect from it emotionally, basically. Just go through the motions, because Saturn still wants to manifest there. And still Saturn will manifest for you if you want higher education. It will get accepted, especially to more traditional universities or such that are more stuffy, let's say like Saturn, or more hierarchical institutions, or more with more or if you're studying separately, like older teachers, more traditional, but with very deep knowledge as well, because Saturn in the ninth house, this is, maybe there are lots of bureaucratic or kind of sticking to the letter there in such studies, but they're foundational and they're very, let's say, very, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But it can manifest high education for you, though you have to put work and work hard, and even if there are some disappointments, to get some detachment and carry on. Or you can even feel detachment and disappointment in some professor or mentor figure or father figure. Again, I repeat. You can also manifest travels far away to foreign countries, but usually they will be for something to do with work, and they will carry with them a lot of responsibility of some sort. And yes, they can be relocation if you want, but it's going to be to a foreign country, but it's going to be slower, and it's going to have, it might be connected to work, then it's okay because Saturn is connected to work. It might have to do with foreign travel that is about just duties and responsibilities, or travel because arranging some difficult matters of some sort. This is Saturn, but such things have to be done. Or if you're trying to get legal documents, for example, for foreign country residence, yes, it can manifest. Saturn is in its own sign, but it might, you have to persevere, and you have to do it by the law. Follow the law to the letter, And also, if you're member of any churches, any spiritual congregations, which is the ninth house again, you have to again stick to the letter of these places, or otherwise you might get punished for that. You need to do it more traditional way. But Saturn also in its own sign can elevate and can give positions of authority to people involved in ninth house careers. So professors, but especially if they get some position in institution that is traditional, it gives you more authority, but it brings more responsibility. So someone can get promoted into a professor, someone can get or get like a tenure or whatever it's called, something stable and lasting. Someone can get positions of authority in academic institutions, or if you're a teacher or a coach or a guide or a mentor of some sort, you can manifest, but you're working very hard with extra responsibilities and duties, a bit slower than normal, but you're manifesting, you're building strong foundations, and you're building strong reputation and authority, and possibly more detachment again. So if you're also in any other ninth house careers, like a priest, a preacher, a teacher, a lecturer, a professor, something to do with traveling agent, international import and export, working with foreign companies and global organizations and humanitarian activities, which is the ninth house again, slow going processes, slow going projects, long-term projects, slower, they might take like a year and a half to, and you have to follow lawfully the letter. Don't do anything, don't expect very fast results, but by the letter, follow. There might be a lot of bureaucratic restrictions, but you're gonna persevere through them, and you can manifest again a lot more respect in that field, a lot more solid foundation, and it's gonna manifest still, like a high authority position if you follow the rules of Saturn. Okay, what else? And by the way, Saturn is gonna really help with hopeful with helpful aspects. Capricorn, Tauruses, sorry, that are born, Taurus that have uh, planets from 13 to 21 degrees. So if it's your sun, moon, or ascendant in Taurus from 13 to 21 degrees, Saturn is helping. I'm putting a plus here. Saturn is sending a trine aspect. Okay, I'll put a trine, triangular, which means Saturn stabilizes your life. Whether it's your sun, moon, or ascendant, it might play in different ways. Those degrees there in particular. So, for example, and it can stabilize your life particularly through higher knowledge, through some degree that you get, through some travels that you do because it's from the ninth house, through some mentor figure, through some teaching position as well. And I forgot to say that it manifests as well. You can manifest higher educational studies, Saturn in the ninth house, but they usually, and maybe some of you already started it because Saturn went there from last year, but they usually last a bit longer, like 2.5 years, the duration of Saturn in the ninth house, something like that. It's the best, and it usually Saturn gives very good foundational, very kind of solid knowledge there. Usually it's more typical, traditional, with more conservative and established, not innovators, but that rely on tradition, teachers, and fields. All right, so maybe it can be like a very respected institution that you get to study with. It's very heavy. There'll be lots of responsibilities and duties in this study, but it's kind of one that can give you access to high sorry one that can give you access to high ranking positions after that, because Saturn in Capricorn is about places that are respected by traditional corporations and institutions and governments of some sort. Anyway, but if you have 13 to 21 degrees in Taurus, Saturn is really helping you. And again, it's going to increase the workload for you. You'll feel it. Even the trine of Saturn, you feel it. It's not as gruesome and overwhelming as the square oppositions, but still, I mean, even Saturn trines, but they're very stabilizing. You can handle them more, the more responsibilities that come to you. And usually the opportunities, because trines is about an opportunity, they're a bit slower, but the opportunities that come to you, they anchor you for a much longer time. They give you stability in your life, like they build some long-lasting foundations and stable ones in your life. So if it's your sun from 13 to 21 degrees, Saturn can stabilize your career or some relationship with a male figure or an authority figure of some sort, which is the sun, with like a husband, a father, or a boss. You can get like a stern but helpful support from such an authority figure or from an older figure as well in regards to your career. Your career might be still with more responsibilities and duties and having to build things, but it's gonna, these things that you're building, they're not being stagnate, they're not being like, you're not seeing blockages and stuff. And it's kind of allows you, if you start a new career, for example, or a new project, usually it will be slower moving, but it's gonna be very, it will create lasting foundations and results in your life. Or if you start, often if you start even a relationship, if there are not other crazy stuff happening, for example, your Venus being in Taurus at 3 degrees when Uranus will pass, because then it can do something else. But a relationship, if your sun is in Taurus and from 13 to 21 degrees and Saturn is squaring, it's trining it now, because the sun rules men, male figures. You can start, if you're a woman, this means you can start a relationship with someone that is more lasting as well, or start a career that's more lasting, or stabilize your career and social status, or whatever you do, whatever actions you do, if you're from 13 to 21 degrees in Taurus, they will have lasting effect. They will be slow but steady, and they will give practical good results. They'll make you feel more grounded and secure. And if it's your moon in those degrees, you can do some changes or responsibilities or things towards your home, which again will give, which are stable, slower moving, but stabilizing for your personal life or for emotional connections and relationships. And if it's your ascendant, your whole overall life and health as well. And then we have Uranus is also in, of course, we all know it's going to be for the next 7 years, and it's coming back from April into Taurus. Welcome back, because in 2018 it leaves Taurus for a little bit to be in Aries, and it comes to shake things up for you, Taurus. Well, Saturn is stabilizing things for a lot of you. It's stabilizing the status quo, for 13 to 21 degrees with your sun, moon, or ascendant. Uranus, though, is in the earlier degrees, and this year it's going to influence everyone who is from 0 to 7 degrees in Taurus. In Taurus, it is Uranus. This is the symbol of Uranus. It looks like an antenna. And Uranus will be conjuncted. So conjunct is the strongest aspect. This is how we indicate it in astrology. And actually, some of you already started this influence from 0 to 2 degrees in Taurus, whether it's your sun, moon, or ascendant. It started from 2018, the Uranus influence, turning life upside down, changing things so much for you. And from April, again, it goes in there. And it goes from March, but it goes back from March. So those who are in the first 2 degrees will feel it, I think, March, February already. But it's like changes that already started for you if you're in the first 2 degrees of Taurus. And it's kind of, you're just implanting them further. The people that's going to be most surprised is from 0 to 7, from 2 to 7 degrees in Taurus. And what does Uranus give? For example, if it's your sun in those degrees, in the first 7 degrees of Taurus, sudden new direction in career, sudden change in career. And this continues for a whole year. It starts from April and continues till April 2020. It's going to have 3 hits, which means that 3 times you can change a career even, or 3 times you can make an adjustment to your business or to your goals, and it usually happens suddenly out of the blue, and the sun also indicates a male figure. Suddenly a new male figure can appear in your life, or a boss can be suddenly changed, but it's something that impacts you in a powerful way and changes the core of you. It changes the core of your goals, the core of your if you have this, because Jupiter and Saturn that I talked about is for everyone. But people that have just specific transits for those degrees, they feel it the most. They feel the most that planet. They feel it much more than they'll feel Jupiter and Saturn. Yes, Jupiter and Saturn will be like background influences that I talked about. But those specific degrees, 0 to 7 Taurus, my God, their life is changing. It's not going to be the same. That's when I had Uranus transit my son. New husband, within 1 year. Divorce, new husband, new business, new continent, baby. It's like when Uranus comes, and I know Taurus like things slowly. Oh, get ready to have some fun, because it's gonna just be like bam, 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 bam. I was enjoying it. I'm Aries, Taurus. Who knows? Maybe if you feel like you've had enough of the same situation, Taurus might resist it more, but it's exhilarating. Once you surrender to the process, once you go with the flow and stop resisting, it's like, oh my God, you're taking me, universe, you're taking life, you're taking me to much more authentic place, because Uranus is the planet of authenticity, of truth, what is true to you. And when you start feeling Uranus influences, you're like, I can no longer put up with this lie, with this illusion. I'm pretending in this relationship. If you have Venus in 0 to 7 degrees as well, or I'm pretending in this job, if it's the sun, or I'm pretending with this person, I can't. That's it. I'm not doing this. Or the person can initiate it. But usually the transit from the conjunction of Uranus, it's you start the initiation. You start those changes. And if it's your moon, you can change a whole place where you're living, your family life. You can suddenly become a mother or a parent, or you can suddenly stop being a mother and a parent. I'm not saying your child will die. No, it's not like children leaving the nest. So your family circumstances change so much. And people can experience Uranus transits like very more shocking, stressful things, because your life turns upside down. But honestly, believe this process. It takes you to a much more freeing, exhilarating, exciting place. Often when Uranus transits the sun of someone, they can have a sudden rise or sudden fall as well, depending if you have not been truthful to what you do. It can first mean sudden fall, like ending with one career, being fired, or something like that. Uh, if you've not been truthful to yourself, I mean, in regards to where your vision, what kingdom you want to build, and what your career and future want to have, which is what the sun is. But if you've been truthful and you've been working on something, now all of a sudden you can become a world celebrity. I mean, that's what happened for me when Uranus transited the sun. From being a small YouTuber, it's kind of blew out. I mean, within a year, bam, it became not just me, it became 20 other astrologers, world famous astrologers. And honestly, I was not even initiating it. It was happening, like popping out of nowhere. When Uranus comes, you can't resist. It just drags you with it, and just go with the crowd, and and start dancing there instead of trying to stay upstream or whatever. Just join the carnival. It's gonna be a carnival. It's gonna be a ride and a half, roller coaster ride. And sometimes it can have quite disruptive effects, because it means, let's say, getting uprooted from one place, if it's the moon in particular, or even relationship, or changing places of living a few times. It can mean also sudden separations with important male or female figures, male if it's the sun in those degrees, female if it's the moon, or people that you're emotionally connected to if it's the moon. It can also indicate, in some extreme cases, I'm not talking about the extreme. Let's talk about the more average, what usually happens. It can also indicate, as I said, sudden rise in career, especially if you're in career connected to Uranus. Wow, this is your year if you have those degrees. That means like astrology, something alternative, technologies, social media, science, concepts of some sort, something very intellectual as well. Okay, let's go also Neptune. Neptune is from 14 till 17 degrees. No, I would say this year from 16 till 19, but from March till, the end of the year is from 14 to, okay, from the start of the year it's 14, so it's basically from 14 till 19 degrees that we have Neptune. From 14 till 19 degrees, Neptune sextile. Sextile is like this little, what is it called? And it means if you have sun, moon, or ascendant from 14 till 19 degrees, Neptune this year is helping you gently. You can feel more compassionate, more loving. And you see, this is the degrees that Saturn is also helping. So Saturn can usually make us feel a little bit more stern, too serious, to focus on responsibilities. And it's not in a very drying way, because it's a trine. And it brings responsibilities and duties. But Neptune can also help you escape and relax and take it easy if you have those degrees. Some kind of, because Neptune is about escaping, having more spiritual, taking care. Saturn's taking care about practical things, sorting out practical things. But because those degrees, if you're sun, moon, or ascendant 14 till 19, you'll have an emotional release as well from Neptune. Something also, some escape from the responsibilities and duties, which can come through friends, because Neptune is in your 11th house, through social networks, through joining like-minded groups, to going to events with larger groups of people, to going to seminars or lectures where like-minded people gather together, especially on topics that are more spiritual, especially, or going on trips with friends, because Neptune is about trips, it's about spiritual activities as well. It's about chilling or drinking wine with friends, Or Neptune is also about just giving you relaxation. And 8th and 11th house, where it's doing it from, is like someone helping you as well. So someone can help you. It might be a friend, it might be a benefactor. The 11th house is people that want to help us again, like an older sibling as well, who can help you somehow with your project. So help you as a person in this time, And it's usually some Neptunian figure, someone more spiritual, or someone more artistic, or someone that is more compassionate, someone who is in a medical field or in an artistic field, someone who softens our soul in a gentle way. Also, anyone who has goals or trying to achieve or do something Neptunian, and if you have from 14 till 19 degrees, it will be happening. Neptune will help you. Neptunian is if you're trying to, and especially if it's your sun, because sun is our goals. If you're trying to do something with healing, something with spirituality and guidance, something with travel to faraway places, something with sanctuaries, with retreats, with healing again, as I said, with meditation. Uh, Neptune will help you. Something with liquids, with alcohol, something with music, with art, with healing. We said that. And even your moon or ascendant. If you are in the midst of doing anything Neptunian, which I mentioned, or liquids, or business connected to such things, and you have Taurus 14 to 19 degrees, you're receiving help. Plus, Saturn is making you be practical about those things and remove the unnecessary uh, plans and stuff and illusions. All right, and then we have Pluto helping some of you as well. This is so many planets are helping you guys. And these are Tauruses, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant from 20 to 23 degrees. 20 to 23 degrees in Taurus. We have Pluto making a trine. The trine is even stronger aspect from Neptune. So 20 to 23 degrees, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. This year, Pluto is helping you with its trine. Even the trine of Pluto can feel intense, but it's in a way that does not shake your core. It's in a way that doesn't feel like you're dying, And Jupiter is in your 8th house of transformations anyway. So all transformations, even though initially they might be a bit shocking, they feel like a rebirth of new you, not like a death, Usually with difficult planets transiting the 8th house, transformations are happening, but they feel like death. With Jupiter transiting the 8th house, transformations feel like a new me is being reborn, a better one. So 20 to 23 degrees in Taurus, Pluto is making a trine for you, which means that Pluto is the planet of really, it's actually divine willpower versus human willpower, which is Mars. And it's almost like powers above you, beyond your willpower, are conspiring to help you with some big project. If it's the sun, conspiring to help you with some vision for your life that you need to complete, whether it's with career, with goals, with the vision that is the kingdom you have to create, and the life you have to create, because the sun is the creative planet that we create, the vision we have for what we want our life to be. And Pluto is focusing, helping you concentrate that energy and create and make like feats of with your willpower that are able to manifest. Pluto is like a very manifesting planet because it focuses the intensity and the passion of the desire very strongly, like a laser, pinpoints it, and also powers beyond you. It's when it makes a trine to your sun, moon, or ascendant, you almost like you aligned your will, your human will, with divine will. And this is when things start flowing, when you align your will with divine will. And this is when you find that in human willpower, almost Pluto, to do something good, because it's a trine, and to fulfill your goals, your dreams with the sun. Also, if it's the sun, it might be a male figure that is intense, that is focused, that transforms your life, that gives you deep, insightful advice, because Pluto is in the 9th house, and vision for your life, and that gives you that empowers you. Remember when Pluto was trying my sun, I was very empowered by a person that was in my life who was very Plutonic, like they can be Scorpio in their horoscope or something. Or it can also mean, if you're a woman, Pluto making trine to your sun, a very Scorpionic man or powerful man or deep insightful man can appear in your life, and that's going to be for good in some way. It's going to help. It doesn't mean he'll stay forever, but it's definitely not a casual relationship. It's a karmic one, but in a good way. This person is there to help you, even if it finishes later on, and to empower you in some way. Maybe you empower that person in a past lifetime. Now they are doing it for you. And it's and if you're a boss and Pluto is trining your sun, you can now strive towards fulfilling big goals that are in alignment to a higher vision, that are very transformative. You can even transform your business, but it's not going to be in a shocking, stressful way. Your career, you're gonna build upon, or you're gonna kind of transform it in a way that doesn't overly, too radical. Because Pluto trine is, it's not radical, it's on a deeper level, but it's empowering. It gives you more power, it gives you more stability as well. And if it's your moon that is on those degrees, there can be a woman or emotional relationship that empowers you, and that is there, that appears in your life, that is powerful, that's penetrating, that's deeply sexual as well, that is deeply tantric, and that is healing in some way as well. If Pluto is making squares or oppositions, they can be predatory people and stuff like that. Well, Pluto, even the trine, can bring more intense people. You might feel like sometimes like you're being penetrated or overwhelmed by them, but still it's these people are agents of some good, because of some positive creative force in you. And some healers can appear if it's your sun, moon, or ascendant and Pluto is making this exact aspect. Healers that help you in some way, or healer or shaman. Anything plutonic is fantastic for you to do now, especially Pluto to the moon trine or to your ascendant, and even to the sun, like healing therapies, occult research, studying of astrology, secrets, deep research of any sort, deep self-investigation. It's going to give very easy and positive results. Also, it's never easy with Pluto, but very positive. It's deep always. Or also, if you're doing something to do with plutonic careers, they can really take off, like Reiki healing, like energy healing, like surgery, transformation of appearance, if you're someone who does that, if you're a psychologist, if you're an astrologer, if you're an occultist, if you're that, who can really help with your goals and visions. If you're in some way working with minerals, or finding minerals from under the earth, or natural resources, Pluto can help. Or if you invest in such things, Pluto can help with this. Is a positive time to do this. Eighth house is, sorry, not eighth house. The Pluto is also, yeah, I think we mentioned a lot of things. All right, I can't mention all the businesses. I mean, that's for personal reading. And then you have, we mentioned all those, and we're gonna mention when Mars is going to trigger Taurus, because these are more critical periods for you to be careful, but also when you can be much more active. So Mars will be in Taurus, basically your first house, whether it's sun, moon, or ascendant, from February 14th to April, basically for a month and a half. And it means that this is a time for you to act, to start new beginnings, to be very it's Mars gives you physical energy to tackle problems, to even to start some physical exercise, to put a lot of energy in getting rid of problems, doing a lot of work things as well. So Mars, because rules your seventh house, often maybe someone will push you into it, or by combining your power somehow with another person. But this is time for beginnings, very active. You're on fire there, as they say. But if you don't have some productive project to put your energy to, you might feel more irritable, more stressed. And of course, it's not throughout this whole period. Depends, like those born in the first in April, Tauruses, so the first 10 degrees, 0 till 10, they'll feel it in February. And those from 20 to from 10 till 30 degrees, basically born from May, in the May born Tauruses, so who have ascendant or moon from 10 to 20 degrees, will feel it in March. Now, March is when they're more stressed, or there is more challenges and provocations, but those challenges and provocations are pushing you to start something new, not to get off your bum and to start new exciting things. Plus Uranus is entering again your sign. It's happening simultaneously with Mars in your sign, so things are on fire then. And then Mercury goes into your first house. Sorry, Venus goes into your first house from May 15th till June the 8th. This is a good time for May 15th till June the 8th. This is a good time for love, Venus is love. This is a good time for beauty, for buying beautiful things, for being liked, for having success through diplomacy, through agreeable attitude. Venus helps things become easy, alleviates stresses. Venus makes you more gentle, things become easy, money, resources as well. Anything to do with beauty, with resources, with finances, with valuable objects will be happening. That's the time for you to do it. And with relationships and love as well. Then Mercury also enters. Actually, it's before that. Taurus is from May the 6th to May the 21st. This is a time to be very intellectually active, to communicate, to write, to do some important business decisions. May the 6th, so basically May from the 6th to the 21st, to be very proactive with organizing, planning some events, with anything to do with communications, with writing, with speaking, with business and commercial activities, with promotions of any sorts, with sales. If you're doing sales in anything, this is when you're very successful. If you're doing marketing, advertising, business administrative work. Then Mars is again in a sign that affects Taurus directly from July the 1st to August the 18th. Basically in July it's from 0 to 18 degrees Mars, and it squares Taurus from the 4th house. There can be stresses with family, fights, or you can be very active. So try not to react. If you're born from 0 to 18 degrees Taurus, July is more critical month for you, with more stresses, with more provocations, whether from family members or just you emotionally more reactive. There might be some things breaking down in your home that you have to fix, but you can be very productive and get a lot of things done around the home or with family, or because you're emotionally prodded. But don't react immediately, wait it out. And of course, if you're born in from 18 to 30 degrees Taurus, then it's happening till the 18th in August, from the 1st till the 18th of August. And then Mars, it makes opposition to Taurus in Scorpio in the 7th house from November the 20th till January 2020. So from November, so the last month and a half basically of the 2019, Mars again is stressing you a little bit, Taurus, but it's other people that are stressing you because it's in the 7th house. The early born Tauruses, they feel it November and start of December. The later born, they feel it the rest of December. And they kind of provocations from others, but you can use those. Again, don't overreact, because you can get into fights, whether it's clients or business partners or something. But it's not going to be something too dramatic. Don't worry, it's a temporary influence. Mars doesn't go retrograde there. But Mars will be, it means that someone can press your buttons, but use that fire to make something creative, to fix something that's not right, rather than get defensive and or use that fire to that another triggers you with, to collaborate and to get something together done. You can be very productive if you use it correctly, or use this power for more aggressive negotiation, for more asserting yourself with another person, for trying to or fight on behalf of another person. This is what you can use it. Or if you're in some kind of fight, that can be where you can put a lot more energy. So anyway, okay, and I think we last have to do the Mercury retrograde periods. Mercury is retrograde in March, most of March from the 5th to the 28th, but I give you the whole March as Mercury retrograde to remember it like that. In July, I give you the whole July as retrograde from the 7th to the 31st, but you feel it the first 7 days. And from October, November. So we have March, July, and November, Mercury retrograde, which means reworking something. Being careful about details, and being careful about missing some information. And in March, just be careful about some miscommunication with friends. You might meet friends from the past in March that come back to see you, that you haven't been in touch again, that you communicate, or maybe some project that you're working in, because the 11th house rules our long-term goals and projects, our socio-economic goals. They have to be revised, and has to be edited or completed or fixed in some way. Some relationship with a friend, or some kind of a 11th house is gains, financial gains, that you have to work on some project that deepens up, and you have to put more effort in order for you to see the results of those gains. Then in July, the Mercury retrograde is happening in your third house, Tauruses, and part of your fourth house, which means that you might be having to be careful with information, communications with others, so you don't make mistakes, losing of documents, losing of misplacing communication devices of any sort, or losing information on them in some way. Plus, you might have some important conversations with family, which is the fourth house, about property, to fix, to plan, to replan, to change plans, to reorganize, some events connected to family, connected to place of living, to vehicles as well. And you might have to change plans for travel, or maybe the route to your work, or maybe because third house is connected to short trips and travels of some sort. And you might have to change some business strategy, commercial activity of some sort, work hard on some sales initiative before you release it. You can release it from August onwards, but you might have to return to redo that product business administratively somehow as well. Or you might have to work with a small group that requires extra efforts and certain misunderstandings that you have to sort out on some project. But again, the results are 3 times more lasting. And then Mercury is retrograde for the last time in November in your seventh house. Now that you can feel, especially this one, I'm going to write down. November, Mercury from 10 to 30 degrees in Taurus. Mercury is retrograde in and that's November, in your seventh, the whole November. The processes actually can start earlier before that. The process can feel like it started almost a bit earlier, which is, let me just see, almost like from October the 11th and continues to November the 7th, but the most intense period is November. And that's about reworking relationships. There will be, if you're trying to, there might be some very important conversations about your personal relationships. If you're Sun, Moon, or Ascendant on those degrees, you feel it. All Tauruses do, but those specifically, the last 20 degrees. A relationship that is, you might have to bring up things from the past that you're unhappy with, that can create, and especially they're intense, they might be about power struggle because it's in Scorpio. You might have to renegotiate the deals of a contract. And if it's not correct, it breaks down. Even a relationship, if it's not renegotiatable, it breaks down. A business partnership can break down. You can find out some information you are not aware about for another person, with a personal business partner, that you have to discuss in some way, and that changes things in some way. You might have to you might be dissatisfied, or a partner, with how a relationship is going, so they want to examine that relationship. So November month is very much focused on contracts, relationships, agreements, and it might be business. You might be agreeing some contract of sale of something or whatever, a partnership, and you might just get delayed during this retrograde period because you're trying to understand who wants what, and maybe negotiate better deal or something. All right, Taurus, that's it. I forgot to say that the North Node, Rahu, is going to be in Cancer, which is your third house. So you're becoming much more passionate the whole 2019 about anything to do with, and you can get great results. Anything to do with commercial business activities, anything to do with social media, with writing and speaking. You can get so much passion, and it's almost like amateur passion into it, but you can really develop your skill set. Fantastic time for developing skill set. Fantastic time for developing a lot of new contacts that are foreign and different. Fantastic, they're all local, but that you have more passion towards developing. Fantastic time to developing your skills in sales, in marketing and advertising. If you work in any of those fields, you can see and you can even use very tricky ways to do that, because Rahu is not moral, uses tricky ways, uses ways that in any way, kind of get fast there. But this is the world, and you can even get like uh, you can you can get passionate about working in a small team environment. You can get passionate about and develop a lot through some commercial business activity, commercial project. And third house is about self-starting business and develop using your skills to start a business. This can be a good time for it. This can be a good time to develop those skills and to start it. So that's another thing that I forgot to mention, and especially around the eclipses. And the eclipses are in January, of course, and the eclipses are in July as well. So January and July, a month before and after, this becomes a very strong topic for you, that you want to develop those skills, and maybe something new and very surprising can happen in your neighborhood, which is the third house. You can get passionate about getting involved in your neighborhood, getting involved in reading or writing or social media of any sort, and Rahu can give fast access to those things. Anyway, wow, it's quite intense, quite long. I will have this whole information. My teacher she's making her own written horoscope, but she's not giving you the whole picture like I do. She's giving you month by month systemized what is happening. And you can check out those. I think they're going to be like $6, and they're like many, many pages. They're beautifully made, month by month, write up for each sign, for degrees and days that a person is born, and without astrological terms almost. So it's kind of, it's very systemized. She's perfectionist. Mine is like almost amateur compared to hers. But anyway, thank you so much, Taurus. And 2019, yoo-hoo, enjoy it.